Good morning, everybody. I'm gonna wait a little bit just to see if anyone jumps on. It is cold, quite dark morning this morning. And yeah, it was a bit hard to wake up, if I'm honest. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to start off with sharing a little bit about myself, where I come from, how I got to where I am, I guess. And then I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks. Good morning, Michelle. Hi. I'm going to give you guys some tips and hacks that you can implement to keep you on track with your health and fitness goals. So I'll start with just sharing a little bit about me and where I come from. Basically, my story is, so I have got 12 brothers and sisters. I'm one of 13. And I grew up in a house with 8 boys and just me. So pretty intense, but they were always really great to me. So I don't have any big complaints about that. But very religious upbringing, and my parents were quite unstable in the regard of, I lived in 30 houses before I was 13 years old. I was homeschooled until I was 10. Good morning, Robin. I was homeschooled until I was 10 years old. And I went to 5 different high schools before I was even 14, before I was grade 9. So just because we moved around a lot, and every time we moved, I went to a new school. It kind of caught up with me around that time, the instability, and at 14 I actually decided to move out of home, and I moved from Perth all the way to Brisbane when I was 14, going on 15. And basically I lived over there with one of my brothers, went through, working a couple of jobs whilst finishing high school, which I didn't finish because I was really, I was just not good at school, and I didn't have a lot of self-confidence back then that I was smart enough or that I could do things. And that's another story for another day, because I really had to overcome those confidence issues. But I did it. And anyway, when I was 19 years old, I moved I moved back to Perth, and then for about a year, and then I moved to Amsterdam for 8 years. And good morning, everyone who's jumping on. And I lived in Amsterdam because I met a Dutch guy in Perth, and moved over there and fell into a recruitment job. And I started as a recruitment assistant, and very quickly figured out that I was really good at the job. And I was working for a global British company, and worked my way up pretty quickly into the management team. I was the youngest person in the management team at 23 years old, and managing a team globally across the world. So we specialised in oil and gas. Morning, Rebecca. Specialised in oil and gas, so I was, in all the oil and gas hubs in Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Houston, and the job was really, I love Amsterdam too. I basically, the job, I was working 60 hours a week. I was travelling a lot, and not just small trips, but, big trips to Houston and Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Aberdeen in Scotland. And at one point, after, 6 years of doing the job, all these things started to happen to my body. I started losing weight. I had, back issues that I had for about 2 years that just were not going away. And I ended up seeing this sports scientist, sports physio. And he told me that, he's like, oh, they sound like symptoms of cancer, what you've got. And I was like, are you even, allowed to say that to me? Anyway, freaked me out. And because I had all this stuff happening within my body, I decided to go and get checked. Now, after, months of blood tests and research and blah, 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 turns out that I was just stressed. Yep. And the stress was just purely manifesting in my body. My thyroid was hyperactive. That's why I was losing weight. The upper back ache was purely just stress tension built up. And it was at that point that I knew that I had to make a big change in my life, and that I didn't want to continue on with this job. So I've always been interested in nutrition and health and fitness, and that was about 6 years ago, and I decided to change my profession and moved back to Australia 4 years ago and set up a couple of gyms that I have in Perth, and now a health coaching practice. And I basically specialise in working with women who suffer from emotional eating disorders. So women who, have struggled their whole life because of the belief patterns that they have around food. And I really just work with them to break down those patterns and recreate them so that they can let go of those old ways of being and create new ways of being that ultimately improve their health. They start to lose weight then. They feel more energized, they feel more positive, and it's just, super fulfilling. All right, so because now you know a little bit about me, I'm going to share a little bit about what I do. So what I'm going to talk about today is what to eat, how to eat, when to eat, and who you are being when you eat. Because all of these things, if you are wanting to live a healthy life, if you're wanting to have a healthy relationship with food, if you are wanting to lose weight, increase your energy levels, minimize pain in the body, whatever it is, all these things work together. Okay, so the first one, what to eat, is, where a lot of people, when they're dieting, is basically all that they focus on, right, is what to eat. But when to eat and how to eat and who you're being when you eat are just as important. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So we're going to start with good morning, everybody who's jumping on. I'm just about to start with the content. I was trying to figure out how can I make this visual for you guys, but I'm just going to use this whiteboard. I've got a little diagram on the back there, and the rest I'm just going to have to tell you about. And if you want any more information or handouts, you're more than welcome to contact me directly. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is something called the blood sugar roller coaster. Now, when we talk about blood sugar, it's not necessarily the sexiest thing to talk about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and explain it to you in a way that is not going to have you fall asleep. And that's not too technical. So the blood sugar roller coaster is, I'm going to give you an explanation, and I'm going to show you the diagram behind me. It's basically when you eat a fast carbohydrate. So a fast carbohydrate is, anything that's got sugar in it, pasta, bread, white rice, potatoes, they're all a fast carbohydrate, right? So when you eat a fast carb, that means a fast carb is it gives you a fast and high burst of energy, which is great if you've done a workout, right? Because normally if you've done a workout, you need more energy and you need a fast burst of energy. But if you're just waking up in your normal everyday life, waking up at like whatever time and having breakfast with a piece of toast, right, with jam on it, might be, that is seriously going to spike your blood sugar. And so what happens is you spike your blood sugar, and then I'm going to take you up to my diagram here. See if you can see this, right? This is a stable blood sugar level. It's actually where we want to be. But when we eat a fast carbohydrate, what happens is we eat the fast carb and we get a spike of energy, right? Morning, Shannon. And we get a spike of energy. And then what happens is your body creates insulin. Now what we're going to do is, I'm not going to go into the specifics of it. I'm just going to talk about, we're going to call insulin energy, okay? So you create energy up here. And then what happens is, because of the type of food that you're eating, you actually create too much energy, because insulin is created to bring your blood sugar levels back down. But often too much insulin is created, and then you get a crash. Okay, then you're down here, your blood sugar level's really low. It leaves you wanting more food. You get an energy crash. You're like, I'm going to go for anything that I can grab. You might grab a packet of chips, a muesli bar, whatever. And then that again is a fast carbohydrate because it's got sugar in it. And so then what happens again is you increase your blood sugar level and you create more insulin. And that then happens consistently throughout the day. Now, if you're exercising a lot throughout the day, that might be good, right? But not if you're just sitting in the office and your mood and your energy levels are constantly going like this throughout the day, right? So what happens is we create too much energy within the body, and by the end of the day, that energy gets stored in your muscles and in your liver, and those stores have only very limited space. So once they are full, where do you think the rest of it goes? You create fat cells, right? So you basically... Oh, good morning, Bubby.
Mom,
yeah.
can you please
Sorry, everybody. I've just got my 3-year-old here who's just woken up. Do you want to go and find Daddy? Say hi to everybody. You want to go and find Daddy because Mummy's just finishing this up, okay? I'll be done in 20 minutes. I'll be right back, guys. Sorry about that, everybody. I had a feeling she was going to rock up halfway through this. Okay. I have a sip of water. All right. So we're talking about blood sugar levels. So you basically create too much energy in the body. You're constantly creating fat. And by the end of the day, your body just doesn't have a chance to burn it off before you go to bed. So a couple of things that are happening here when you are not balancing out your blood sugar levels, and that is your mood and your energy levels are seriously impacted throughout the day, right? Which also impacts your concentration and your productivity to work, ultimately. Good morning, everybody. Hey, Brody. And you're constantly creating new fat cells in the body. So if you're trying to lose weight and if you're on the blood sugar roller coaster, you can be doing as much exercise as you like, but if you're constantly creating more and more fat, then you're just not going to lose the weight that you want to lose. And you're also increasing your risk of health conditions. Some of you might know, relate blood sugar levels to diabetes. That's because, diabetes is caused through irregularities in blood sugar levels consistently over time. So while you think you're doing the right thing and you might be eating the right foods, right? One tip that I can give you is on the back of packaging when you are looking, if there's sugar in there, if there's sugar content, because sugar is obviously going to spike your blood sugar levels. Morning, Kelly. And there's actually 65 hidden names for sugar on the back of packaging. So, things like rice malt syrup and all your artificial sweeteners, they all spike your blood sugar in the same way that sugar does. Your body actually can't tell the difference. So if you're trying to get, good morning, Eleanor. If you're trying to get, off the blood sugar roller coaster, then this is something for you to take into consideration as well. And perhaps look at, preparing your own meals and staying away from processed foods. Okay, so a couple of ways that you can balance out your blood sugar levels. So first one is to stay away from fast carbohydrates. There is a time and a place to eat fast carbs though. For example, if you've just done a really tough workout and you've burnt, 300 to 500 calories, then you can go and have a bowl of pasta, for example, because that pasta, your blood sugar levels are already going to be low from burning all that energy, and it's going to give you a fast burst of energy. The next way is actually by combining all 3 macronutrients. So macronutrients are healthy fats, healthy proteins, and good slow carbohydrates. So your slow carbohydrates are sweet potatoes, brown rice, quinoa, for example, and your vegetable fibers. And if you, your carbohydrates are always going to spike your blood sugar levels, right? But your slow carbohydrates are going to spike it much slower. And when you combine them with a healthy fat and a good protein, you're actually going to slow down your digestion. So basically, like a good healthy breakfast to start with might be a piece of wholemeal toast, some eggs, and avocado. You get all three of your macronutrients then, and that's not going to spike your blood sugar. Another one is by drinking plenty of water. You're going to flush out any excess sugar from your bloodstream, and also just getting good quality sleep to allow your body to properly detoxify and balance out your blood sugar levels while you're sleeping, and avoiding eating late at night. Okay, so this brings me to my next point of eating high energy food. So this is something that I do with my clients. I really focus immensely on focusing on what food gives them energy rather than what food strips them of their energy. And why is it important to eat high energy food? Because the more energy we have, the more motivated we feel, the better decisions we make, especially around food. And when we lack energy, we tend to make poor and destructive decisions, especially around food. So I'm going to ask you guys, what food strips you of your energy? Please feel free to share with me. Food that strips me of my energy is, basically anything processed, but like your chips and bread and chocolate. Although I do eat it every now and then, I love chocolate, but I know that it makes me feel sluggish and just gross in my body, Morning, Sandy. And so I want you to have a think about the food that does make you feel sluggish and that does strip you of your energy. And, ask yourself, what emotion have I got attached to that? How does it make me feel safe? Are you eating just because you are stressed? It probably feels good at the time, but it's a temporary solution. Because shortly after the negative self-talk might start. Why did I do that? Now I feel so shit. I've broken my word to myself, so that's what basically happens when you eat food that strips you of your energy. Morning, Brendan. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch gears now and have a look at what food gives you energy. And so for me, that's fruit and vegetables. I know if I'm consistently eating fruit and vegetables, then I feel light, I feel happier in my skin, I just feel generally more positive and energized. And the problem is, right, most diets focus on what not to eat. And the thing is, it's like deprivation then. Did you know that 98% of people who lose weight actually gain it back within the first 6 months? And that's because most diets are focusing on what not to eat. And it's not fun. It's not sustainable. I can't eat that. I can't do this. I can't, that's going to do this to me. And so you're constantly focusing on that. But why not try this new paradigm? Okay. And this new paradigm is just getting you thinking a little bit differently around food. And that is focus on food you do get to eat rather than what you don't get to eat. So I get to eat high energy food that makes me feel light, energized, and happy. Okay? And that is a way to start nurturing a healthy relationship to food. So moving on to my next point of how to eat. Basically, stress is a horrible thing, okay? And that's how I started this live, is I explained to you why I got into this in the first place. And it's because I was overly stressed, and stress was starting to manifest in my body. And I knew that I needed to make big change. So, the physical impacts of stress on our body are increased cortisol, which is, what creates that belly fat, cholesterol. It impacts the ability to absorb nutrients, and also increases inflammation in the body, and just many, many, many more medical conditions that come from stress. Now, the thing is, when you eat under the stress response, so if you're stressed and you're eating food, what happens is the same hormone in your body that activates the stress response also deactivates your digestive system. So let me give you an example. Sip of water first. All right. So have you ever been, in a rush on your way to work? You've just grabbed something out of the fridge, it might be a piece of toast, you might have picked up a croissant or a bagel from the cafe next to you, whatever, right? But you're running late for a meeting, you're feeling like high strung, and you're shoving this food into your mouth before you get there because you know you need to eat something. And then you get to your destination and you're like, oh, I feel like the food is sitting here. It's because it is. Because your body can't actually digest food properly until you are relaxed. So the key for this one is really to slow down when you eat. Have consistent meal times, which is what I'm going to come to next. Give yourself enough time in the morning to prepare a meal and sit down at the dinner table and try not to watch TV at the same time so you're, unconsciously eating. And I guess the biggest thing that a lot of my clients, find really helpful is actually this thing called chewing. Do you know what that is? Maybe, yeah. But but anyway, so chewing, right, is it is actually so key to breaking down the food. And basically, what happens is when you chew your food properly, your saliva has got special or important enzymes in it that actually help you absorb nutrients better. The average person chews 2 to 5 times. It's crazy. And what we should actually be chewing 20 to 30 times. Now, if you just practice chewing on its own, you're actually going to, you're tricking your brain to slow down, right? And you're focusing on chewing your food. So you're actually calming your nervous system down, which is going to help with your digestion just basically digesting the food properly. And, that is it's absolutely key. If you're trying to lose weight and the one thing that you change or do differently is just start chewing your food properly and slowing down your meal times and how you're eating food, then it is going to fly off you because you're actually going to boost your digestive system, and you're going to absorb more nutrients. Okay, another thing that you could do is I do like a 5-5-7 breathing technique with my clients. So just for 2 minutes before you eat a meal, if you're feeling stressed or high strung, what you can do is breathe in for 5, hold it for 5, and then breathe out for 7. Breathe in for 5, hold it for 5, and then breathe out for 7. And then do that for 2 minutes, and that's just going to do the same thing. Trick your brain, calm you down, and then you can eat in that relaxed state of mind. Cool. Okay, now I'm going to talk about when to eat, because we've covered what to eat, we've covered how to eat, but when to eat is also just as important as those other two. So the thing is, the mind needs freedom, but the body needs stability. And this is something that I have been personally searching for majority of my life, stability and balance. And that I have also now created as an adult. But the thing is, our bodies need consistency around meals. So I'm a big advocate of consistent meal timings because it also just keeps your blood sugar levels balanced. You don't get to the stage of you've not eaten for a couple of, for half a day, and then you're completely hangry because your blood sugar levels are so low, and then you'll literally just eat anything in your path. And then, you might have scoffed down a whole packet of crackers and French onion dip like I do when I get hangry. But you're still not completely satisfied because your body needs a good nourishing meal. So eating consistently also stops you from overeating, basically. Now, something that I like to that I teach within my practice is, and we follow, is the I don't know if you've ever heard of Ayurveda, but Ayurveda is basically a way of eating that is consistent with the natural rhythms of nature. So I'm going to explain to you what that means. And basically, right, when the sun rises, look at this, the sun is rising over there. Beautiful. When the sun rises, so do we, right? But our body temperature starts to increase. And as our body as we start to wake up and our body temperature starts to increase, our metabolism wakes up, and it's a good time to have one of your biggest meals of the day, because your digestive power is starting to peak, right? But by the time we get to noon, when the sun is in the middle of the sky, our digestive system is actually at its absolute peak then. So your biggest meal of the day, and getting majority of your carbohydrates in at breakfast and at lunchtime, should be at lunchtime, because then after lunch, between 2 and 5 o'clock, your body temperature takes a slight dip again, because basically your blood flow is rerouted to the digestive system to help process all that food. Now, a lot of you might know this as the after lunch dip, because that is what happens to our bodies. And for some, it happens worse than others because of the type of lunch that we're eating. If you're eating lots of fast carbs that are going to give you that crash, then you're going to get it much worse than others. I personally don't get it that bad, because I make sure that I have a good, well-balanced meal consisting of all of my 3 macronutrients. Okay, so you're between 2 and 5, your body temperature decreases. And then around between 5 and 6 o'clock, it increases again slightly, but nowhere near enough as at lunchtime. And that is time to prepare your body for a small, light meal. So basically, you should be having your lightest meal at dinner time. And then after 9 o'clock, your body temperature takes a significant drop, preparing you for bed, getting your, starting to slow your digestive system down. And I always recommend avoid eating at this time. Also, because if you eat late at night, you create energy in the body, and it's actually going to impact your quality of sleep, because your body is trying to regulate your blood sugar levels. And so if you're someone who struggles with sleeping, and you eat late at night, then that's probably something that you might want to look at. So let's have a look at different cultures, right? I know I'm getting up to about half an hour, but I'm almost done. Let's have a look at different cultures. So if we have a look at Australia and the US, for example, our biggest meal is at dinner time, and most people actually skip breakfast. And we have some of the highest obesity rates in the world. Now, if we compare our culture to somewhere like Spain, for example, that does have their biggest meal at lunchtime, and then has a siesta between 2 and 5 o'clock, and then after 5 o'clock, they just pick on light meals. Now, Spain don't necessarily, their culture is not necessarily to watch what they eat, right? They eat lots of oil, they eat lots of sausages and processed meats and all that kind of stuff. But what they do focus on is having consistency around their meal timings, and also giving their body rest between 2 and 5. Now, that might not be possible for everyone to, have a rest between 2 and 5, but I know that there are some companies out there who are actually investing in sleep pods, because there's scientific research to say that having a 20 to 30 minute nap between 2 and 5 o'clock actually improves your cognitive function. Morning, Liz. Your cognitive function, your mood levels, and your productivity. Just 20 to 30 minutes. And so, if you have a look at their culture compared to ours, you don't really see that many obese Spanish people, do you, compared to Australia? So it really makes sense with what I'm talking about around meal timings and consistency. Okay, now I'm going to talk about my last thing, and then I'm going to leave you guys for the day, is who you are being when you eat. Now, this is something that I work on with a lot of my clients, working with women who struggle with emotional eating disorders and stress eating and binge eating, and that they have all of these beliefs around food and their relationship to food. And I basically help them transform those beliefs, create new ones, and so that they can really let go of those ways of being. And it's truly fulfilling when that happens. But anyway, so one thing that I always say is everyone is always winning at the game that they were playing. Now, that they are playing. So when I was living in Amsterdam and I was, highly stressed, my health was taking a turn, I was not looking after myself, burning the candle at both ends, partying and then working late hours. And basically my thing was I just don't have time to take care of myself. I don't have time. And so I never had time, right, to take care of myself properly because that was the game that I was playing. I just don't have enough time. So if you don't have enough time, and if that's what you tell yourself, you're never going to have enough time to prep meals, to have consistent exercise routine, or to just be healthy in general. You might tell yourself that, I'm an emotional eater. I'm just an emotional eater. I can't help it, right? If that's the game that you're playing, then you will always be an emotional eater. Another one that I hear often is, food is just too good. I'm not going to deprive myself because I want to eat the things that I like. If that's what you tell yourself, every time you eat healthy or that you try to eat healthy, you're going to feel like you're deprived or that you're depriving yourself of the things that you love. And you might be an all or nothing kind of person. And if that's the game that you're playing, then you'll always be an all or nothing kind of person. So the key to this is really changing the game that you are playing. So for example, the game that I was playing was I don't have enough time. Took a toll on my health. And normally we don't really change things until they need to be changed as humans, do we? But the game that I now play is balance, and that I can still eat and drink the things that I love, but enjoy life and be healthy at the same time. That for me is balance. And so that's what I tell myself. And so that's what I do, right? So I eat consistently. I balance out my blood sugar levels. I get good quality sleep. I drink plenty of water. I exercise daily. And then if I want to have a glass of wine or a piece of chocolate, that's fine because I know that I'm consistent in all of those areas, right? But it's when you can start to self-sabotage yourself. So self-sabotage comes into that. That is a complete another conversation for a different day because I don't necessarily have enough time to go into that. But, that self-sabotage mentality of like, I've been so good this week, I can have whatever I want, right? If that's how it is, if that's how like communicating with yourself, then that's going to be also a way of that it's going to be destructive to your health, right? But if you create a different game, so think about what game you want to be playing around your health. Thanks, Shannon. It was nice that you were on. So my game is balance, and I can still live a healthy lifestyle and eat and drink the things that I love. Okay, so you have a choice, and that is what I want to leave you with, thinking about what game you are going to play what game you're going to play to have you feel nourished in every area of your life. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'm a little bit over time, but I got it all in there. And feel free to reach out to me if you want any more information on anything that I talked about today. All right, thank you so much, and I hope you have an epic day. Bye.